Hey everybody, this is Fred from WPShout, and I'm joined by David.
Hi.
Hi. And today we're going to talk about WordPress and, in general, hosting recommendations and why a lot of them are dishonest. And we're going to kind of prove that to you guys with the results from a Google search. So yeah, David, anything before we jump in?
I don't think so. I'll let you lead.
Cool. So I'm going to start sharing my screen here. And basically, I've got a bunch of Chrome tabs popped up. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to walk you through first some actually reliable data on WordPress hosting. And when I say reliable, what I mean is it comes from real people. That means that these are data from hundreds or thousands of real users with no financial incentive to deliver results in a certain way. So there's a hosting survey that Code and WP did this year, and there's Review Signal, which I'll talk about in a minute. So the Code and WP data, pay attention to how these hosting companies come out rated. Now, Code and WP has their own honesty problems, which I'll get into in about 3 minutes, but the data itself is good. So you can see they failed to actually rank their data properly. They've ranked it by Alexa market popularity, which is really stupid, makes no sense. So I went and took their data and I ranked it properly myself. And this is a good guide to what the good companies are in WordPress hosting. So the companies at the top are hosts whose users actually like them, like Kinsta, Flywheel, SiteGround, Cloudways. And the thing to really pay attention to is the host at the bottom, HostGator, GoDaddy, Bluehost. All of these hosts underperform all of the other hosts on this list in terms of user satisfaction. Their users do not like them. People hate being hosted with HostGator. They hate being hosted with GoDaddy. They hate being hosted with Bluehost. All right, so that's one data source. Let's look at Review Signal. Similar story. At the top is things like SiteGround. Middle is GoDaddy, kind of did 49%. And at the bottom, at or near the bottom, is HostGator and Bluehost. So we have a trend, just some things to keep your eyes focused on. SiteGround always outperforms GoDaddy and HostGator and Bluehost. And depending on who you ask, GoDaddy, HostGator, and Bluehost are bad or like kind of mediocre to bad. They're never good. So that's honest data. Now I want to show you the story that you'll be getting if you do a Google search for best WordPress hosting. And I've basically opened all of these tabs one by one, and we're just going to talk through them. So the first four things you get are ads, right? So this is actually paid recommendations in Google AdWords. So it's safe to ignore those if you're trying to get actually good information, although you might get confused and not realize these are ads. So that's problem number one, is that by far the first results are ads. Then you get like this sort of official Google result that looks very, very official, which Google just auto-generated, right? And that comes from this first search result, bestwebsitesetup.org. So best WordPress hosting in 2018, top 10 comparison. So let's see what they have to say. The 10 best WordPress hosting services. Bluehost, number 1. HostGator, number 2. SiteGround's in there. That's nice. And some others. So if you were coming to the top Google search and wanted to know what the best WordPress host is, you would think it was Bluehost, narrowly followed up by HostGator. But remember, actual users hate Bluehost and HostGator. Okay. This is Code and WP's best WordPress hosting article, which is actually based on this same data. And they've done, once again, a kind of a deceptive ranking practice so that Bluehost comes out on top, despite in their own data having one of the lowest user ratings in this, lowest user rating in this entire table. So if you're being careless and look at the table, the overall rankings, top 10 plus best WordPress hosting platforms, and you're not thinking like a statistician, you might think that Bluehost is the best host in WordPress. So you're getting bad results in 2 out of 2 searches so far. These guys love HostGator as their editor's choice. Go ahead, David. Yeah, please.
Real quick, the Code and WP thing is sorted by price, I guess, is the idea.
I think so. Yeah. And not by like whether users like it or not.
I agree that if you're incareful, you would totally miss it. But
well, and the other thing is like cars should like nothing should be sorted by price. Like,
right.
Hey, there's a $20 car and it blows up when you look at it. Oh,
for sure.
Hey.
I agree. It's an interesting choice, though. I guess I'll let them get closer to the order they wanted.
Yeah, exactly right. HostGator is the editor's choice for PC Mag for whatever reason. As we know, it's bad hosting, but you wouldn't know that from this.
I've never
Best WordPress host. Go ahead.
I've never heard of TMD, which is their third thing.
I have never heard of TMD web hosting in my life, and I've been doing this for like 8 years. Best WordPress hosting, top 8 options compared. Okay, This is decent. WP Engine is good. SiteGround is good, and InMotion varies in user data. So I like this result.
Designbombs.com.
Yeah, go Design Bombs. But number 3 is Bluehost, which we know is not the case. And let's see. I think there was something about this. Let me just see. I think there was something about this that was deceptive where they, yeah. So Bluehost, right, is number 3 behind 2 actually decent recommendations. Update November 2015. According to many of the comments, it seems Bluehost isn't the best in terms of customer service and uptime. Update 2, December 2015. I definitely advise against using Bluehost. They had some major outages in the last few days. Right? It's still their number 3 recommendation. These updates were made in November and December of 2015. I would advise against using Bluehost. Why is it still number 3 on your list? You claim that this article was most recently updated on October 11th of 2018. Right? And all of these articles claim that they were updated within the past something like 1 to 3 weeks because Google cares about that. But it's quite possible that there's just bots like changing a word and republishing the article. So the fact that your number 3 recommendation has like a handwritten note from 2015 telling you not to actually buy it is deceptive. And it's quite likely that this article hasn't actually been edited in any meaningful way since 2015. And they're just lying to you that the publication date is in 2018. WP Beginner, look at this, Bluehost, HostGator. So horrible advice, good advice, decent advice, decent advice. But the first 2 things you would choose if you hit this page are actually horrible. And again, that's not according to me, that's according to thousands of actual users. Bluehost, TSO host, which I guess David and I need to look them up because we've never heard of them. The Bluehost is number 1. HostGator is number 5. HostGator is number 1.
This one's also weird because of the banner at the top that also looks like it's telling you that DreamHost 1 and 1 and Liquid Web win.
Yeah. Yeah, they have like these kind of like specialized picks, which, you know, and then HostGator is for the finer features, whatever that means. I've used HostGator on dozens of projects, and there's nothing fine about it.
They have no fine features?
It's not best for the finer features. Bluehost, bunch of words, then Bluehost. Okay, so that's the results you get. Like everything lies to you on the front page of a Google search for best WordPress hosting. And when I say lies to you, I mean puts in the top results one or more of the worst hosts that are the worst large hosts in WordPress, the worst hosts that have any kind of real popularity in WordPress hosting. So these are all either deceptive or outright lies. So we've kind of showed you that that's the case, and now we've got a little bit of time to talk about why. So David, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let's have you take it away.
Real quick. Can you click over?
Oh, bummer. Here, do you want me to get the screen share back?
I mean, I think the heart of the reason for this is just that money's involved. Like,
yeah,
the hosting marketplace is one of the most competitive in terms of the size of the payouts that you can get, even as an unknown to these companies' affiliates. Most of these programs, certainly SiteGround, and I think we were looking at HostGator's page earlier, they start at $50 per referral, which is pretty good. Like, that's enough to put a finger on the scale of like, well, this one's not giving me any money to recommend it, and this one gives me $50. But the thing is, as you get better at hosting these sort of things and getting in the top rankings for some of these results, you can make more referrals, which updates your thing. I know both SiteGround and HostGator at this like $50, $75, $100 kind of setting.
Yeah, so let me show you that for HostGator. Basically, this is how you get paid as a HostGator affiliate. The more people you get to buy HostGator in a given month, the more you make per commission. So it's basically trying to force you, it's trying to basically optimize the number of affiliate recommendations that you make. So they don't care if you're like a web developer who really likes HostGator and has 3 clients a month sign up. They're like, okay, cool, here's $150. But if you're somebody who writes one of these articles and knows how to sort of do SEO so that you get on the front page for it, like for every single person who buys HostGator hosting, you're getting $125.
Which naturally would just have the effect of concentrating your recommendations. Like if you truly thought HostGator was good for, let's say, small HTML-only sites,
right?
You would still want to be recommending HostGator in contexts where it maybe wasn't appropriate. For example, it's possible it's not appropriate for WordPress because you get more money for funneling it in. The other thing to throw in here is like the public figures that these companies do are different than the sort of backroom deal they make when they see that, oh, you made about 20 referrals to us. Hey, we're going to reach out and make sure that you don't switch to a different company by up to doubling. I've heard of even higher, but certainly like juicing your referral so that rather than getting $50, you're getting $150.
Yeah, so these companies are really actively sort of cultivating the people who are willing to refer them. And as David just said, like if they think you're on the cusp of being a really good referrer for them, a really good affiliate for them, they will up your referral rate to make sure that you don't question kind of that these are the right folks to be recommending.
Yeah, and we at WPShout have gotten those emails. We always ignore them,
Yeah.
but Bluehost has probably, I could check our inbox, but I'm sure Bluehost has reached out at least once in the last 5 years to be like, hey, do you want a big affiliate commission for recommending us? I'm sure many companies do that, but Bluehost is the one in my head that figures most prominently, and coincidentally is near the top of all of these rankings that we just looked through.
Yeah. So basically what you've got, and there are any number of sources that will tell you this if you know where to look, but what you've got in the hosting recommendation space is essentially
sort of
it's almost impossible to find the truth. What were you going to say, David?
It's sort of a pay-to-play model, though. These companies are just paying for being at the top of these articles rather than actually providing good service that would lead them to naturally be at the top of the rankings.
That's right. So the moral of the story is, don't trust kind of naive hosting information like a Google search for best WordPress hosting. And in terms of what to do instead, we have a lot of content on WPShout that can help you make good decisions. David, is there anything else? Go ahead.
Review Signal and Code and WP if you look through the way that it's organized.
Yeah, if you know how to sort tables yourself, Code and WP's data is good. But once again, if you listen to them with your brain turned off, you will still end up making a bad choice. So yeah, so that's the story on why most hosting recommendations that you're likely to come across are dishonest and who's profiting from that dishonesty. Yeah, anything else before we close, David?
I don't think so. I think in general, the problem that we have with a lot of these companies that are getting recommended is that they aren't especially good in customer support. They aren't especially good at performance or uptime or anything. They kind of are mediocre on basically all of these axes.
Yeah, or worse, or actively bad. Like we were on Bluehost for a very long time, and Bluehost used to be a good company, and then our site was going down for like a day every month, which matters if you actually care about your website. And it was also like grindingly slow. And this was shortly after Endurance International Group, which is like one of the worst actors in hosting, actually acquired Bluehost. So it's like that's the kind of experience you're going to be having if you follow this advice. It's not that, oh, hey, my host didn't have the luxury features or whatever that article said. It's going to be like, hey, my site's slow and there's long waits for support and nothing works the way it should. So that's kind of the default. That's what people are getting funneled into by this stuff, and it's pretty outrageous.
Not a happy world, but there are good recommendations out there. We stand behind what our recommendations are, and don't let the fact that they offer us more money sway us.
That's right. Okay, guys. Thanks for watching.